What is going on, Stonebladers? It has been a long time as always. I always love coming back and just randomly dropping a video. I did play a few games a good amount of time ago, and by a good amount of time I want to say like a month or so, and I actually went back into the database and I was able to look at them and record them, and so I have some open time momentarily, and here we are. This is going to be a game against like Yorion control / staff control. Anyway, I love playing against control decks. I always have. In case you didn't notice, they did reveal the old Sky Noodle itself, so that's going to be there. And let's get started right away. Let's keep or mulligan. Let's keep indeed. Despite the fact we have one island, not bad. We got a Ponder, we got Pierce for interaction. We're going to find some lands. If not, that's pretty much how Stoneblade tends to crumble, is a lack of lands, but with an island and a Ponder, we're going to be good to go. So here I do want to keep this. I do want to play island, and I do want to Ponder. Now, if this was against any other deck, like it could have been combo, it could have been anything else. Given the fact that they revealed this, there's nothing to my knowledge, although my knowledge is very limited given the fact I don't play all that much, like that I'm going to be afraid of in the beginning. If it's combo, they might have Thoughtseize, or say if it was a Reanimator or Storm or something like that, there's more merit to keeping Pierce up, but that's the decision that I went with because of the information that I had. So we have Ponder. Let's check it out. So this looks good, especially for the fact that we're looking for lands. So right off the top of it, so Batterskull is going to go on top. We don't want that. We're going to either, fetch that away and then we'll get something else. And then it should be probably Stoneforge on top and then Plains on top and draw the Plains, just in case it is a 5-color deck with discard and they take the Stoneforge. That would probably be the only reason why I would do that. And like I said, this was a while ago, so I don't remember all of these specific cards and the ways that I stacked them or the lines that I took, so there might be some differences between what I think now and what I did. So let's hope it matches up to the best of my saying. So Stoneforge next. Perfect. And let's draw that Plains. Okay, cool. Even on turn 2, it's like maybe they could have a Sylvan Library. Like I'm probably not holding up Pierce because I still have a Prismatic Ending. So we have Plains. Let's play that, and let's play Stoneforge. Moving into the later turns, obviously, it's like if we don't draw any land, it's like, well, do we play Kaldra? Let's get Kaldra here. And pretty much when I'm playing this deck, it's so rare that I get Batterskull. It's not that it never happens. It's just Kaldra is such a beating. It's like they have to either adapt to it, remove it, or completely change their plan around. Like say they were going to play a Planeswalker. Can't do that now. Kaldra might just attack it. Whatever the thing's going to be. It's kind of like Counterbalance. Once that card is played, it completely alters the way that you play. That's a little bit more different for like you're not going to be casting as many spells, but if you don't deal with this, it's just going to kill you. And given the fact it's such a great threat, I'm getting that most of the time. That's my little spiel on Kaldra. I know I'm like a year behind on that. How long has that card been out for? Okay, we're fetching. Double fetch. Prismatic Ending maybe. Okay, Staff. Okay, that's fine. I mean, like I could have held up Pierce to pierce that. This card is good. Obviously, it's like one of those. I think this card is fantastic in a control deck. It's more of like once everything slows down, you have your counter wars and you're left with not a whole lot going on. I think this can really get you over the hump and over like pretty much beating your opponent because you're going to get so much advantage out of it. In the short term, it's not bad either. It is like a 2-for-1 and it can get a lot more than 2-for-1, but I've liked what I've seen from this card. I never got to test it. Is it something I would have tested? Probably, but nevertheless. Okay, I clicked very quickly on that one, so we're bringing in Kaldra. Let's bring in the beats. I'm not too crazy about holding up Spell Pierce here. Like if they play Narset, I can attack it. If they play Teferi, that's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Let's attack. Something I also talk about a lot. Stoneblade loses a lot when you mulligan. Like it's just so bad at mulliganing because you're just always wanting to get those 2-for-1s and just kind of like bleeding your opponent dry by getting these little advantages. And just by having one less card is a huge deal. That and not drawing enough lands. It's like some of the biggest reasons why Stoneblade is going to lose, aside from making like a bonehead mistake. Okay, so they have a Narset. That's fine. And this is their third turn. That's great. This is pretty much going to replace itself and then I can attack it and kill it. So that's perfectly fine. And what did they reveal? So Brainstorm. Okay, so those two, sure. We'll keep those up there. OCD, gotta put it in the best spot. Okay. Get your pity point of damage. Okay, and once again, we still have nothing. So I'm attacking Narset here. So it's actually a pretty good exchange. That pretty much just replaced itself, and I didn't even need a card to get rid of it, so that's fine. Here, let's see, I mean, I could get rid of Staff, but I don't mind holding up Spell Pierce here. Because they play a land here. They could play Teferi, they could play another Narset, they could play a Jace, and all of those Spell Pierce are going to hit. Plus, by not doing anything, I can also bring in Batterskull at the end of their turn, so that's why I didn't Ending, and Swordsing this is just pretty much useless. Okay, well, there's that too, so not Spell Piercing that, because it's just, obviously they can pay for it, that doesn't matter, so they got 3 mana, so probably playing a Planeswalker. Narset, let's pierce that. And nothing from opponent, cool. So we saw this. I don't think they brainstormed yet, did they? If they did, brainstorm shouldn't be there. If not, okay, finally. So what do we want to do here? Obviously playing a land. So our options are, I like do nothing as always. So we have Dress Down. Little to my knowledge, I didn't realize they had Uro in this, so that can be helpful here. We can Prismatic Ending this. In my opinion, it's like, is it really doing a whole lot? Yes, they're going to get a card out of it. I forgot if I did or didn't. I think I didn't, because I'm like, I don't care too much about it. I liked keeping up Snapcaster Spell Pierce. So, okay, I did get rid of it. That's fine. Might have been a different game. So those were like the 2 options I would go with. I guess it is good here because they can't draw the card since they're tapped out. So like I said, I'll go back and forth because I don't remember exactly what I did. I think it's later in the game when I hold up Snapcaster and Pierce. There's their Brainstorm. Okay. Okay, and now they have Yorion in their hand. That's fine. So here, honestly, like that works. Let's see. So what do we want to do here? Do I still want to hold up Snapcaster and Pierce? We know that they have this in their hand. I mean, if they play that, it's not going to be a big deal. I don't mind playing Stoneforge here, just kind of looking at it now. I guess I didn't. I think this was the time when I did Spell Pierce. So either playing Stoneforge or Snapcaster Pierce. That's fine. Is that another Brainstorm? Or sure, that's fine. Like, what a difference is when you're kind of locked on lands and your opponent has many more than you, but there's always a way to win with Stoneblade, which is what I like about the deck so much. It's always been so resilient. Like, its resilience on a scale of 1 to 10 is probably like a 9, 9.5. It's low on the power level, but when you get it like in the right person, you know what to do. Okay, so here was an interesting moment. My my plan here is to Dress Down so that it comes into play. They don't draw a card. I replace Dress Down, so that replaces itself. I get to see another card, hopefully a land, something else helpful. And if they Force of Will that when I Swords it, it's not going to be a big deal because next turn I can do Snapcaster Swords. So the only way this goes wrong, let's say I play Dress Down, I replace my cards. They Force of Will my Swords, and then they Force of Will the Snapcaster, which is pretty much their entire hand. So a lot would have to go wrong for this plan to not work. So that's why I'm dressing down right here, keeping up the Plains for Plow. All right, sweet, land. And I'm just going to wait till the end of the turn. And I plowed this. And to me, that is exactly what I love seeing. Like, I play, say, a Stoneforge Mystic, they Force of Will it, or I play a Stoneforge and they bolt it, or they Prismatic Ending. I'm getting these little 2-for-1s, because remember, like, I drew a card, this replaced itself, and they didn't draw a card, so right now, this is the negative advantage for them. We're getting a little advantage, a nice little 2-for-1, that's fine. And they pitched a Force of Negation, sure. Those little advantages add up over time. Like, that's an extra card. So here what I want to do is simply straight into Snapcaster and then plow. So let's play Plains. So if I tap correctly, I believe I should keep an island open because an island is what I want to be able to brainstorm with. So island Plains for Snap. Good. So they would have had to pretty much force the Snapcaster or this Swords to Plowshares. And even if they did that, I have ways of digging. Like, I can get a Stoneforge in, I can Brainstorm. Like, I had options. So, worst case scenario, I think that ended up working out very well. Plus, I wanted to get use out of that dress down. To help find that extra land was a nice benefit, too. We finally hit our 4th land. Thank you very much. Okay, ponder away. And they shuffled their library. Okay. What do we got? Sure. This card's good. Like, every time I see it, I'm like, okay, not bad. You know, like, I'm probably more afraid of it saying, like, Painter, just because Painter can win so quickly, and they have so many red blasts, and there's a lot of... I have never really figured that deck out in terms of, like, all the triggers and the stuff they can do by putting an artifact in the graveyard and putting it back in, and it's just, there's a lot going on there where that was always a deck I needed more practice against. So, given the fact that I have so many Brainstorms, I believe Brainstorm here is going to be the best just so I can throw Batterskull back, hopefully get a land, and of course that'll be shuffled in. I can play Stoneforge, get it back. Let's see. Sure. Looks good. All right, so easily, this is going back so we can fetch it. And you know how I am with my fetch lands. We're keeping this just so we can get that extra shuffle effect. Plus, if we need a Prismatic Ending for 3, this will be our mountain. So these 2 should be the very easy putback. Perfect. We can play Prismatic. And what do we want to tap here? I think I did Plains because... you know, I don't have swords, you know, and not a big deal. I obviously can't crack that and get another Plains, but they don't know that, or it wouldn't really matter all that much. Keeping this open for Brainstorm is so much better, allowing me to fetch if needed, because I will have my shuffle here. Okay, I didn't want to attack here. You know, if they block, that's fine. I figured if they're going to attack, I'm going to block. You know, they are going to get their mana from that, but... I am not the beatdown right now. I will be eventually, but now is not the time, nor the place. Sure. Did they discard anything? Okay, so they got some good value out of that. Misty and Volcanic, so they pretty much had a whole lot of nothing. Perfect. Once again, another little 2-for-1. I will certainly take that. You can have that. That is perfectly fine with me. I will block this. I got value out of Snap. Not a big deal. Let's keep this off the board. I do have Planeswalkers. Like, aside from Teferi, where I could bounce that, because I am going to have to deal with that once it flips over. And so here is the idea. Do I want to Brainstorm here, because I do a Batterskull, or do I want to wait one more card? Either or wouldn't be too bad. I forgot what I did. Let's see if I did Brainstorm or wait. Okay, I waited. Sweet. So, do we want to ponder or Brainstorm here? Let's think about this very quickly. We obviously know that we want to get rid of this. I wouldn't mind... Oh, this is a tough one. I mean, like, there's obviously a lot of advantages. I'm just going to see how this plays out. I wouldn't fault you for doing either. Okay, prioritizing getting rid of Batterskull. And, okay, land isn't bad at all. You know, Batterskull I could probably play soon. It's almost like, do I want to bring that one back? But I'm thinking here Batterskull and a Brainstorm. Okay, we can shuffle off there. We can Ponderino. Okay, Narset is great. Definitely want Narset. So, I mean, doesn't matter. Island, Tarn, Narset. As long as we're getting Narset here, I'm going to shuffle it away anyway from the Vista. We're playing against a control deck, and Narset is an absolute house. They haven't been doing a lot, so let's do that. What do they got? Perfect. And let's use it immediately. All right, look at this. So, we have Force of Will, which I already have, and it's the choice between Narset and Jace. They clearly couldn't do anything against Narset right now, and, you know, as much as I love Jace, I think I like Narset a little bit more here. I'm just going to keep using this until they get rid of it, and then once they do, I'm going to play this other one. It stops so much from their deck from functioning. Of course, they do have Uro as well. I'm not sure if they played him in this game, but he is in the deck. Obviously, all their Brainstorms are cantrips, so I think I went with Narset here. And good. And we can pass the turn. And they do still have this in their hand unless they brainstormed it, you know, and did some shuffling away with it. Okay, reflection. Aha, right on time. So, yeah, we'll definitely let this go. No need to force this. It'll come back. They can replace it, gain some life. That's fine. Actually, it doesn't replace itself. I completely forgot. So that was I'm a little rusty, as you can tell, but nevertheless, we're still creating content. And what do we have here? Escape. Let me click a few times because they got to click a few times. Okay, cool. Once again, not drawing a card. Love it. So now we're looking for removal. We have one shot here. We have a Narset, another shot there, and we have a Brainstorm. So we have a lot of ways to look for removal here. I'm not worried about that. Another big reason why I like Narset too. So let's see what we get with Narset. And yeah, that looks great. So Uro is going to be the biggest thing to get rid of here. You know, I could go with Prismatic Ending, and then of course we can do Volk, Plains. I think I just went with Plow to make my life easier. We can play Volk here, and they quit. Okay, that's a pretty good idea in my opinion. I would have Swords this, because they could always copy that, I believe. Not too familiar with how that works, but that's what a 2/2. They can attack that. That's fine. I can always Brainstorm. I could play this. There's just so many more things I could have done to find removal, or maybe a Teferi to bounce that, maybe a Jace to bounce it if I had enough mana. That was a fun game nevertheless. Let's check out the sideboard so you can actually see the deck that I was rocking. I would make some changes to it if I was playing, you know, like right now, but allow me to hop on over and we'll check that out. All right, so here we are, kind of a weird one. If I was playing this deck today, I would take down 2 dress downs. One of the dress downs would be a second Teferi, and the other dress down would be a third Narset. Like I said, I think this card Narset is just too powerful. I like the fact that it is only 3 compared to the 4 with Jace. I'd still rock 2 Jace, don't worry about that, but I think it has so much game against so many decks. Everything else is pretty much business as usual. 2 back to basics, 2 Pierces, 2 Snapcasters, and I think where's that True-Name is 1. That could be 2 depending on how much of the initiative you see. And I think True-Name is, even when you think it's not that great, I love how it can just brick wall so many different decks. It can guard your Planeswalkers, allow you to get back into the game. There's just a lot of great versatility to True-Name, and it's just so hard to kill, which is great too. So here at the sideboard, if I was changing this around, these look great. Maybe one less Blue Blast, okay? And these were kind of like utilities. We have 3 Hate Bears here. I like Ashiok. I replaced it over Rest in Peace. It can still work for graveyard decks. Can work for a lot of decks. It's great for like Storm, which is great because Storm is a deck that I was always weak to. It's also good for Storm and say like Elves. Creature removal. And this card is so much fun to play. My goodness. It's like if you want even more value against long grindy decks, playing this and casting it where you get a few haymakers in play and then flashbacking it, that card can win you the game in terms of value. It can just completely flip the script. Nevertheless, the deck we are playing against, we would probably want this, or we would want this. I don't remember exactly what I did. Given the fact they have Uro, at least 1 Surgical, I would bring in a Savines. And they are playing, I believe I saw red there, so those would come in. Something like that. I believe they do have Minsc, which is the bane of my existence. In fact, I'd probably have 3 Blue Blast in the sideboard just to deal with that damn card. Maybe like an extra, instead of 3, maybe a Dovin's Veto for countering out in the stack. Maybe a Caracas for dealing with booze. Whatever it's going to be. But in terms of this, I'd probably take out like 3 Plows here. I don't remember how many basics they were running, but possibly some back to basics, and maybe a couple Force of Will. So if I was doing this is just kind of like a rough cut here. Nothing super serious. Like, it's not set in stone what I'd be doing here. Dress down isn't all too great. Those can easily come out. And of course, some Plows. Was that like 2 more cards? So maybe like 3 like that, and maybe keep in another Force just to respect Minsc, or maybe like another back to basics, something along the lines of that. So all of these would come in and those would go there. So that's pretty much what I would do sideboarding wise. You can change around a few things like this. It's a possibility of using this, for Uro. I don't know if they use their graveyard for anything else aside from the land where they can put cards back in the top of their deck. Like I said, I'm forgetting so many cards and their names, but nevertheless, something along the lines of that. Let's get back to game number 2 and roll that beautiful bean footage. Alright, I dig this hand because it has lands and stuff that we can play. A counterspell, Teferi. This card is great. This card is great if we want to remove some Planeswalker. This is fine. Like, it could be certainly better, but I love the fact that we have lands and playable cards. I don't ask for a lot with a starting 7, okay? This is good. Let's roll with it. So I don't know what I was doing here. I think this is where I played a plains, and I am not sure why. Like, I'm not going to be spell piercing anything with that. I mean, maybe, are they playing a creature that I could swords? I don't know why I did that. It would probably be an island. It wouldn't be a Flooded Strand because I'm planning on playing Stoneforge second, and I don't want to crack that when I don't need to. So that would have been an island, and turn 2 would have been a plains. So don't ask. Maybe I misclicked. Probably my guess. We don't need to ponder. Let's get Stoneforge. So they could play, like, say, Narset, Teferi, something, a 3-mana Planeswalker. We don't have a Pierce, but we do have a Force of Negation, so we're going to tap out here. Once again, Kaldra. Kaldra. And we can pass that turn. End of turn, cracking their fetch. Okay, for the old shuffle. What do we got? Perfect. That's the nice little, 2-for-1 that I like. Let them have it. We don't need the Force of Negation now. There are so many better fights that we can save Force for. Let them have it. It's fine. The only time there have been times where I will force a swords or a plow or a bolt on Stoneforge. If you smell blood in the water, like they're lacking resources, or maybe like you sense weakness, they don't have enough mana, there's nothing going on. Maybe if you get the right read, there have been times where I've done that and it works well. This is not the time, in my opinion. Looks like this next turn we're going to have a good amount of options here. Okay, so what we could do is absolutely nothing. Keep Force of Negation up. It's a possibility, right? We could play Teferi, make them do something. That's an option. We could play True-Name, we could play Stoneforge, or we could play Ponder. So I honestly don't remember what I did here, which is always fun because you can play this hand or this deck so many ways. Looking back at it now, it would either be a combination of Ponder and Stoneforge, or just Stoneforge. In fact, I wouldn't mind keeping Ponder because that's a good pitch for Force of Negation. This card's great. True-Name is great. It's hard for them to kill. So I'm definitely playing a Flooded Strand here. And I think it was a pass or a Stoneforge. That's what my guess is. Looks like it was a Stoneforge. Okay, cool. So they prioritized removing that last time. So let's play it again and see what's up. Batterskull, thank you. Slowly stacking those lands. And here, I could have played Ponder. I know, maybe it's his bluffing Spell Pierce. That's just mostly how I tend to play. I don't like tapping out unless I really have to. Like, if I'm playing against, say, lands and they're threatening Dark Depths, and I have 2 lands, I'm definitely going to be pondering. You know what I mean? It's just really depending on the circumstances. These games tend to go very long, so I will be patient. I have no problem with that. This is Uro. Okay, it's Uro. So what do we got? Not a whole lot here. This is going to be happening. And do you have a plow? If they were going to plow this, I still probably wouldn't force it. I just think there's much better targets. All right, perfect. So I want to play this first. So this is a mistake that you can possibly make. I want to make sure that you are aware of it. Now, if they could crack this, get a Tundra, and swords it, they probably would have already done it previously, just because it wouldn't make sense to do it now. But something to keep in mind is that sometimes people will get antsy, and what they'll do is they'll tap their island, tap their plains, they'll tap island, they'll play a Ponder. And then what happens is they're going to need to crack this in order to Brain Kaldra. Let's pretend I didn't have this, okay? So you play the island, tap the island, you play Ponder, and then you have these 2 lands, and you need it to bring in your Kaldra. So what happens is you go to crack this, and then in response to that, they kill Stoneforge. So that is an option that happens sometimes. So keep in mind that you always have 2 mana open when you're able to, say, bring in Batterskull or Kaldra. That can come up sometimes. It is like one of those corner case things, but just something to keep in mind. So let's do this. Kaldra here. Bring it in. And attack. So I believe this was the time where, once again, I didn't Ponder just because I wanted to save Ponder for the Forest Food. And both of these cards are solid against this deck. Okay, and there I go. I swear, I do that every single time. Like, there was the time before I didn't, and then, of course, I play it. Like I said, it's been a while, but... And what do we have here? All right, baiting a Spell Pierce. So, accidentally play the way you didn't want to. This is great, especially for the fact that I'm holding Force of Negation and they got to use it on that. We will take that. You can have that. That's cool by me. So, okay, there we are. What do we got? Uh-oh. And once again, I still think there's just so many better targets. We have this. We have Batterskull. I've got Teferi to bounce the token. And yeah, they can have their thing there. Ooh, and a staff. Once again, I still think there's so many better targets for Force, so I'm not going to force this. Once again, Minsc and Boo is the biggest problem from this deck. It can end the game so quickly, so I let him have that. That's fine. A land here would be nice. I could play Teferi, and of course, I can also use Stoneforge. Okay, that's actually pretty good too. So, I think what I want to do here, let's see, is either Teferi or keep mana up for Batterskull. And let's see. Let's think about the options. Right now they are tapped out, which is good. Either or. So I think, you know, keeping this up, we have this right here. So we technically have Force of Negation and Pyroblast. I might have went with Teferi. Okay, looks like it is Teferi. Cool. And I can bounce this so that it can't get through. I think that's going to be the easy pick here. Everything else is just, you know, is going to have to attack through. Let's draw a card. Perfect. I'll take another one of those. So here I'm going to be on defense. I don't want to attack with this. You know, then they remove this and it's a very easy kill. So I'm going to be on defense here. I don't mind. Like I said, these games go long. And ironically enough, decks like this that can be very powerful overall can accumulate a ton of cards, but we do have Kaldra, we have True-Name, and of course we've got Batterskull that we can bring in as well. So this game isn't going to go too long, assuming we don't get Terminus or they go Uro crazy or something. Okay, are they discarding? Let's see what they got. So just a Tundra? Sure. Okay, drawing those cards. And Red Blast. So this is an interesting one because a lot of times I'll just let them do that, but I actually did end up Force of Negationing this. Yeah, I wanted to be able to just counter anything without, since I had 2 Red Blasts, that was my, what's it called, thought process behind that. So they had 2 Red Blasts, that's fine. Does that count as a 2 for 2? Maybe? Because I used 2 cards, they used 2 cards, and I also got a card from that. Anyway, whatever it was, that's how it worked. 3 mana. You gonna attack? You know you want to. Just kidding. Oh, we got more where that came from. Okay, and they got Yorion in their hand. That's fine. Force of Will without a blue card. We love it. So, Prismatic Ending. I could Prismatic Ending this. So these are our options pretty much. Wait to bring in Batterskull. Is that even going to be needed? Or Prismatic Ending this before it gets out of hand. So right now I don't remember what I did. I remember in the previous game I did Prismatic Ending and I thought I didn't. So I think in this one where it's like Kaldra's going to take over, I got Batterskull coming and I have 2 red elemental blast. I don't think that I did, but if you were in my position here and you did remove this, I would certainly not fault you for it. So I think it's just going to be attacking with this. That's what I would do. I might have done it main 2, so. But I like keeping my mana up, having Batterskull available, and of course my 2 blasts. Alright, cool. Perfect. Control. Exactly like I enjoy playing the deck, right? Nice. Oh no! Oof. Oof, oof, oof. My favorite card. And there's nothing I can do here. Don't have a 5th land. Don't have an extra blue card. Can't paint it. Not playing Painter. I think they know I have Batterskull, right? They should. Maybe? I'd have to look back, but they didn't attack. They just pumped it at the end, which is fine. You got it? And we're going to be bringing in B-Skull, unless they do something else that needs to be. And once again, it's not that I can't do anything about it. Like, they're going to get their advantage, but that's fine. You got it? All right. And oh, that makes my life so much easier because I was just about to have to do so much math and be like, if I attack this or if I prismatic this, we're pondering right away we're here. We need to get rid of Minsc and Boo. And my goodness, those are some amazing cards. So swords, blast, blast. And they are completely tapped out. So I'm just going to blast. Is there any reason to wait on blasting Minsc and Boo? Now that I think of it, it's usually best to give your opponent the least amount of information, so I probably could have just attacked first. I mean, it is an instant. Probably got a little trigger happy there, but maybe just a clean play up little towards the end of the turn do that. They're tapped out, and even if they, what are they going to do? They can't do much here. They can daze me if they have one. And so here what I want to do is, yeah, we're going to be attacking with, after I remove something apparently, I believe it's Boo here, because, yeah. And believe I'm attacking with both of these here. Okay, double. I'll take that. That's fine by me. They are at 6. Sweet. And they do have the ability to get a few cards here, so that is a little advantage they have. But they have to take care of that Kaldra. Okay. And what else we got? 4, 5. Is this the noodle? Looks like it's going to be. And ironically enough, I can just... Actually, I don't want to let this go because then this will come back in. But yeah, I'll counter that. Let's crack. In here, if I played it correctly, it should be Red Elemental Blast. Okay, I've gone over this before. Why would I do Red Elemental Blast over Pyroblast? Because I play 2 Pyroblasts in my deck, and every now and then you play against a Maniac who brings in Surgical. Pyroblast hits the graveyard, and because there is another one in there, they can get a little bit more value out of it. Like I said, that's a very, very corner case, small percentage chance of it happening, but the fact that I'm aware of it and I can play around it, I'm going to choose to. With all that said, I better freaking cast a Red Elemental Blast. Come on, don't make me look like an idiot. There it is. All right, good. And they conceded after that. So nevertheless, that was, I love playing against control decks. It's always been, I don't know what it is. Stoneblade has always been like, oh, this deck is no good. But against other control decks, it does very well. I'd say maybe against like Oko decks were a little annoying, but I mean, there were ways to beat that as well. There are decks where once they get going, they can really extend, like pretty much this one, if you give them enough time with all the staffs that they have and like Uro and so on and so forth, but plenty of ways to fight the mechanics that they have by playing a little bit more smarter, taking your 2-for-1s, taking your micro advantages here and there, and of course, eventually pulling out the win, thanks to mostly Kaldra here. Did a lot of the heavy lifting, but that about does it. I hope you enjoyed this commentary talk. Stoneblade against, I guess you could call it, how many color control? Was that 4 color control, staff control, Minsc and Boo control, whatever you want to call it control. Another one for the good guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Maybe.